Kita dulu. Oh. Tuhan, saya. Get to me. Other people.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Wala, open your mic.
My mic open. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I get it. Good afternoon.
Prince. He was here when we moved in. No, that was 18 years ago.
Dr. V, we're not hearing you.
That's not.
Good afternoon, Miss. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Miss.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out another Sunday to have a conversation with educators based on technology, the loss of technology. Last week we had it was very impactful, and today we're hoping to get more knowledge from some other retired educators who are in our midst, and they will have more than enough to share. I know, not because they're not in the system, but some are in the system. They will have more than enough knowledge to share, and we will in turn use them as our resource personnel. So I'm going to introduce them to you. They're going to tell you more about themselves, and then we're going to start our program. So we have one lone male in our midst, and his name is Sir Mr. Chichester. And Mr. Chichester, he was once an educator attached to the Cyril Potter College of Education, and he's going to say more about his role there and what he is doing right now. Followed by Miss Adams. And Miss Adams is another educator, retired educator, who is located somewhere on the East Coast, but I know she's from Boston. And Miss Adams, who have a wealth of knowledge to share, but she is lost in technology. And she is not the only retired head teacher who is lost in technology, but she's longing to know more. So for those who know, you will be the each one teach one method today for her. And also in our midst is another Chichester. And Mistress Chichester, although she's retired, she is rehired. So she will have a double fold. She play a double fold role today, where she's gonna talk about her past and what is going on now. And last but not least in our midst is one. Sorry. And this educator, she, for some reason, some tech reason last week, Mrs. Joy Norris was unable to make the connection. So she'll be on today. So I'm gonna stop here for now, and I'll hand the session over to Mr. Ron Chichester, and he's gonna give us some debriefing about himself and where he is when it comes to technology, followed by Miss Adams, the same, and the process will continue. Okay? But you know that we have some rules. And the rules are, number one, if you need to speak or anything, just put your hands up. There's an icon at the bottom of your screen. Says reactions. So please bear that in mind. And the other thing, this session is recorded. And if you know that you don't want to be recorded, please, it's time you can opt out of the session. But the session is recorded. Okay? Thank you for listening to me. I am your host, Dr. Valda Elliott. And over to my panelists. Mr. Ron Chichester, kindly open up your mic.
Good afternoon, colleagues in education.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be on this program this afternoon. Quite a pleasure to be on this program. And I just want to take you back in history a little. I started teaching. In fact, before I started teaching, I must say that I grew up in a teaching environment. My father was an educator. 5 of my siblings at one time were teachers. And so I actually knew before I started doing it that I would have been following that same line. I started teaching at age 17 at a primary school, that's St. Stephen's Primary. Then I went to college and continued at Dolphin, then President's College, and so on. I ended up at CPCE, that's where I retired. Currently, I am not in a day-to-day classroom, but I see myself as a mentor. I spend time mentoring young educators, as well as I do some private tuition in and out. That's what I actually do right now. And I'm enjoying my retirement. I see myself as an educator, even though I am not employed as an educator. Thank you. Am I supposed to? Oh, you said talk about technology. I remember while at college, we did something that was called audiovisual, all right? And in my growing up years, my father had a slight projector. And then, of course, those are some of the technologies of the past. And so the modern technology, like many other adults, we had to get in tune with it. I was able to get on board even more when I did some work at a private school and they had to do some online teaching, we had to start online teaching. We were trained. And so what seemed so difficult became manageable for me. So I can say that, yes, there are some challenges, but I was able to function fairly okay. All right, I think somebody else might need to speak now, if I have said enough. Right, I think I'll talk a little later. I'll say the rest.
Thanks, because we're gonna discuss the challenges that you would have mentioned, Ron. Thank you very
Okay.
much for very in-depth overview of who Ron really is. Thank you. So I'll go over now to Miss Adams.
Open your mic, Miss Adams.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Miss Adams.
But, just talk, Miss Adams. Go ahead and talk. Everyone could hear you.
You're hearing? Yeah, because my mic is very, very low. I'm not hearing much. But good afternoon, everyone. Like Sir Chichester, I started teaching at 17. I went into teachers training college. And after teachers training college, well, in fact, before that, I went to Friendship Government School right in the village. And then I went to County High School. That was being run by Mr. Sidney King, who is now AUC Kwayano. As I normally boast that all my formal education I got right here in Buxton. And then I went to Teachers Training College, the Multilateral Teachers Training College. That's 1969 to 1971. I was in college with people like Miss Jor, music teacher. She and her sister, Hilton Hemmerding, Joyce Watson, and many, many, many others. It was just 2 batches of the multilateral teachers. Our college was up Queen Street there in Kitty, that red 2-story building that we normally see coming up on the East Coast. That was our training college. And then we finish off at the University of Guyana. After finishing my training, 2 years training, I was sent straight to Golden Grove Sec. And there I started teaching 3rd form, where I met people like Borchmore Simon and Fitzroy Simon and many, many others, Ted Semple and so on. Ted, they were 5th formers. And so I continued. It was the other day I learned from Ted that they used to call me baby teacher. I never knew. But I continued working there. From there, I went to, well, there is where I met my husband. And then I went to Matthews Ridge because he was in the National Service. I was at Papaya. I taught at Matthews Ridge Government. And then I came out back and I was at Buxton Community I spent 10 years there. The funny thing is, he was with me when I applied for the promotion to go to Bladenhall Multilateral. And before the promotion came out, he died. So he was never there to know that well. I got the promotion in 1988. And so I continued from Bladenhall. I went to North Georgetown Secondary. And then I went to St. John's College. As all of this is as a graduate teacher. At St. John's, when I reached 50, I decided to retire. And I went into the private schools. I went to Marian Academy. I went to Trust College. And then I went to Marian to Mays Secondary. And from Mays, my last place of work was, no, not Mary. Guyana School of Agriculture. I was doing part-time English there. In fact, all my life, it was either English or maths because both subjects I did at training college. I major in English and minor in maths. So most of the schools, the children know me teaching maths or English. When I went to UG, I specialized in the English. Because of this, I also applied and I used to be marking CXC. I was a table leader with CXC. I did that for 15 years. But because of the same technology, when they changed over, I decided to come off. And right now, I am at home. Unfortunately, I think it's 1918, I lost a leg. And so I still have children coming around me because there are a few in the neighborhood. They still come, as they say, once an educator, always an educator. And so I have some 6 and 7 year olds, 9-year-olds. They normally come in and I keep them busy with some work. And it also keeps me active. And so in a nutshell, that's me. Yes, the challenge is there with the technology. I was with it all the time. I had my computer. I used to be busy with it, but of late, well, I don't worry with the computer. I have the phone, but there are certain things. Yes, I do a lot of things on the phone, but I'm still challenged by the technology. So at least there in a nutshell is a little about myself. Dr.
Thank you very much.
Elliott.
Thank you very much, my senior traveler who knows the length and breadth of Guyana. You would have shared, you would have spread your wings and shared your knowledge throughout Guyana. And
yes, I went a lot of Guyana. I
what you
remember
would have
taking
done.
children on tours sometime.
What you would have done for us and others. So I'm gonna bring on another panelist. I want to bring Miss another Chichester on, and that is Mistress Rhonda Chichester.
Hello, colleagues. Good afternoon.
Hello.
And I'm Yonette Rhonda Chichester. But for some reason or the other, most persons call me Rhonda. But that's okay.
Hello.
That's the same person. I feel privileged to be on this program. And I must let you know that originally my intention was to become a nurse. And so when I completed secondary school, that was my aim. However, I always say this, what I'm saying now, to people, what happened, I applied every nursing school in this country, and you may not believe it, not one of them accepted me with my science subjects. So I did a bit of working in a lab and so on, and then eventually as district education officer came to me and he said, I want you to go to this school. That time I was in my Coney, young girl. And then I went to Nova Primary, and that's where my teaching career began. It was quite interesting because I was given Prep B. And those areas, parents will not send their children to nursery school. So when they come to the primary school, they don't know much. So it's always a task. However, I managed. And then I proceeded to college and I said, it's time to up to do science in the secondary school, which I did. And guess what? Again, I think God was directing all through, because what happened, I really, really wanted to go to St. Stanislaus College. And so I applied for St. Stanislaus College. However, when I got my letter of appointment, I was appointed at President's College, and I was very upset. But then I remember a young man working at college said to me, he said, go, you do not know what the Lord has in store for you, so go ahead. When I got to the college, the principal then said, I want to let you know, I went to college and I told them that I want this teacher. That is how she's here. And from then on, for the rest of my teaching life in a government school, I was at President's College. I spent almost 30 years, 29 plus years at President's College, right up to retirement. But the good thing is, I have been exposed to children from the entire Guyana, all over every region, children from every background. And it was indeed a good experience. But my area is science. And you know, if you're familiar with science, then you know that you always have to be doing experiments and so on and so forth. So when I got out of the government system and the whole Corona thing started, that's where the challenge began. Because I never liked typing on the computer. And I think it was very stressful to keep focusing on the screen and all of that. But here, we are faced with a situation that whether you like it or not, it is time for a paradigm shift. And so, presently, I'm at a private school, and there we did a bit of training in the technology to teach online and so on. And then I recognized it wasn't that difficult. And so I got in. However, there are still challenges because, again, I'm saying it's science and children need to be a part of, they need to feel, they need to experiment and not just look at something. So you want them to have the experience, and it's difficult to do that online. And so you always have to be thinking, well, what next? How do I approach this? Technology, yes, they love technology, but then it is not the answer sometimes. And so there is the challenge. And then I'm still in the process of learning because there's so many things that can be done that I am not quite okay with as yet. But by God's grace and with the willingness to learn, I think somehow, Dr. Elliot, I think I'll have to find my way because there's no choice. So I have to find my way. So yes, maybe lost to an extent at this point, but getting there. And I trust that with our experience here, when we share and we hear from others, then we might be able to implement some of the things we would hear and then make life a little more comfortable and then to make us a little more competent in what we do. So that's what I'll say about me in a nutshell. So is there anything else you need to know that you want me to speak of?
Thank you, Mistress Chichester, for sharing your knowledge, and you mentioned about a paradigm shift. And as we go deeper in our conversation today, we're going to tap into some of the things all of you spoke of. Now I'm going to bring another panelist, that is Mrs. Joy Anders. I do hope she's on. Can someone say if she's there?
No, she's not on.
She's not on? Okay.
No.
So because Ms. Joy Nurse is not on currently, we'll go ahead with our program. Now, when I listened to what you rehired educators sharing with us today, I am privileged, and I really I must say thank you for sharing your knowledge, because in our presence online, and those who are going to listen after would be teachers, would be students who are preparing to take the CXCs. And I am pleased when Miss Adams mentioned that she said, as a result of technology, she had to step back out of her original role of CXC marker, that role, CXC marker, a table leader. And it is so significant for persons around to understand the true impact of technology on our system, and especially on our senior persons in the community, people in the community. Ms. Chichester, Rhonda, you've mentioned about you teaching science, and I know that it is difficult when it comes to doing assimilation via technology, and if the knowledge is not there and you don't have the skills. And I know that is difficult for you, but I'm going to tap into your brain right now that during the COVID, and this pandemic would have disrupted the structure, disrupted structures and foundation. And one structure that was disrupted is the education structure. And as a science teacher, I need you to speak to us how COVID disrupted the science structure, and what is the role of technology What is the role of technology? And if technology is playing a meaningful role currently for our CXC students, because you are there currently working with them. Rhonda? Mr. Chester?
Hello?
Yes.
You're
Go
hearing
ahead.
me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I am saying what matters most while we have the technology. And yes, the students are okay with the technology and all of that. It is still difficult for them to assimilate the way you would want them to when they are actually involved in the experiments and so on. And that was a big challenge for me because I recognize while teaching online and doing things online, and they understood at that point. But then when we got back to physical classroom and the very same thing that we did, and I asked them, some of them were kind of lost. And I'm saying here, this thing just not the way it ought to be. It's not working how one would have expected it. So I have my friends overseas and so on. So I would like tap into them and find out what they're doing, especially those who are doing science. And I have a very good friend, and she told me that what they do, they work with the children in batches. So they assign them a specific time during the day, and they go probably 2 or 3 of them. And so that's how they manage to have their practicals done. And I'm talking here about those developed countries. So I'm thinking, well, we have been trying the same thing, but the good thing currently at the private school, my classes aren't that large. And so I can work in a two batches. So one now and then I slipped over to the other one just to ensure that we have the social distancing. So yes, we have the technology, but then sometimes the technology is just not enough for what we want to achieve at that point. So, so sometimes it's like more than lost for me, because you have to be thinking, how do I manage? How do I get this information across? What is my next option? Because remember, we have students with all kinds of abilities, and so you have to cater for every child in the classroom. So it makes it challenging. And then when a COVID situation is so extensive, sometimes, it brings you to a point that, you question what next? What next? So that's my contribution there.
And the question is indeed, what next? And that's why we are here, because there is a part in studies currently. Lots of studies are on the board, and they're focusing, how are we preparing for 2025? And the question is, what next? And what next must come directly from within. So, as Miss Adams, so thank you, Rhonda, Mr. Chester. Miss Adams, on the other hand, I
Welcome.
know you were out physically from the classroom for a while. But you mentioned one thing, that you are indeed a resource personnel within your community, where students are coming to you, and let us make mention that you are physically disabled, but you are utilizing your time wisely, and yes, you are trapped with technology. As an English teacher, how do you see the CXC students functioning currently in this all pandemic mode? And I know that you have tips that you can share with them.
Okay. Yes, you hearing me?
Go ahead.
I don't know, the volume here very, very low.
speak.
Sometimes I have to be putting the phone to my ear to listen.
Just speak.
But it is a challenge. I am not dealing so much with the CXC people. I'm dealing with the little ones. But I know for the CXC ones, yes, it's quite a challenge. Because for some reason, I've been hearing one and two parents complaining. They're focusing, especially when the programs are on. I have my TV, I normally put it on channel 29 for the little ones when they come to me. But the bigger ones, I'm in contact with one and two parents, and sometimes when they're supposed to be looking at the programs and trying to understand what to do, they're busy doing their own thing. And that's something a little worrying. They don't pay 100% attention to the programs. Even sometimes with the little ones I have here, sometimes I have to keep bringing back their attention. I think this thing with the formal teacher not there in class is impacting a lot. And I sometimes wonder what is happening to the very poor child that does not have the type of phone that can tune into the technology. They might have a phone, yes, but that phone is just making little calls and so on, and not the type of phone that is equipped for the kind of work that is coming. I have the couple here, sometimes they go to school, I think they go once a week because the teachers normally send work for them on their phone. And so they have to do the work on the phone and ensure there are times I sometimes have to double check to make sure that they have the correct answers before they carry the book to the teacher. But what of the child that is in the home where the parent is challenged? The parent doesn't even understand what to do, much less to help that child. That parent that doesn't even understand the importance of having that kind of phone where, you know, their interest is, well, okay, they provide a little food and so on for them, the clothes and so on, but they don't see the importance of maybe having the kind of phone that the child can get the work that the teacher is sending, or even on the television, because they have others in the home when the channel is on. They're busy, they want to look at their own programs, so they're not assisting the little ones. So it is not all of that, well, 100%. Yes, we have the ones that come from the affluent homes, that have access to the things, and even them, I think, have some problem because you have parents who go out working. These children are left at home to do their work and so on. And I don't think maybe just must be about 50% of them really following what is supposed to be done. So the virtual thing is a challenge.
So we can safely
Ah.
say, yes, so we can safely say, Miss Adams, from an English lecturer's perspective, is that, and as administrative background, that management is the key for our CXC students to be successful. And you also mentioned about the worsening of the economic structure in our society, and it is filtering in the homes, and yes, it is affecting the students. And this is not only affecting those who are writing CXC, but it is affecting the little ones in the at the primary level. And we know that Brother Ron, Mr. Chichester, said, hey, I am doing mentoring. So I would like Ron, as Mr. Chichester, who is an English specialist also, but able to shed some light. How do you conduct mentoring? How do you conduct mentoring these youngsters and still have them to maintain a grade in their class?
I was
Sorry, sorry, just hold a minute. Miss Adams, if you turn your camera off, see if it might increase your volume, and turn your volume up. Turn your camera off. Miss Adams, turn your camera off. Okay, Mr. Chichester, sorry, you could go ahead.
That's okay. I was more referring to mentoring young teachers, because I had a lot of experience.
Young teachers?
Yes, young teachers, not so much the students.
Okay, good.
Time after time, they would come to you, contact you, and ask for some guidance in how to conduct a lesson. And so I would do some modeling and so on, and give some guidance as to how they can improve their delivery. All right. This is not only biotechnology. It's not even so much biotechnology. I was talking more face to face. All right. But if you would allow me, I don't know if my time has come to give my contribution, because what I wanted to say is that I have also been exposed to teaching online. Just when the COVID started, I started to teach online. And then some of the difficulties or challenges I experienced were, one, setting exams. I found it very time consuming and tedious, and setting and marking exams and assignments online. Okay, and then at that time, it was teaching online was fairly new even to the students, and so it had its own teething problems, and it took a lot of time and effort to get those sorted out. But I find that teaching English online, because that's my area, has its challenges too. For example, you want to see, as an English teacher, you want to see students' body language. Okay, you want to hear their tone. You want to you want to do some drama. And so you find it difficult to do these things via the internet. It's better done face to face, better done in a live situation. Those are some of the challenges that I faced with this online teaching. But I also want to say that I think this generation is in a better position when it comes to researching, because there's so many research engines, and they have it at their fingertips. We have to go in the library and we have to be browsing through volumes of books. They can now do research online, which is much faster. And I want to say to some of the, first teachers who might have challenges with technology in teaching, using technology in teaching, you can also learn a lot from the very devices that you have. There are lots of things you can Google right on spot. Sometimes you have a difficulty, you want to figure out how to do X, Y, Z. You can actually go online and get information readily. Yeah, that's what I want to say now.
Thank you, Mr. Chichester. And I'm happy that you would have raised the point about the mentoring. I really thought of students, but student teachers. And I would like to use this forum to find out if you, who are our resources in the community, will be willing to share your numbers so that there's lots of young teachers who really needs the help. They need the support. And we need to remember that students, the Suricata College of Education would have offered different levels or different level types of certification, how to get it done. They had a hybrid approach and all of that. But still, there are some students who took that hybrid approach. They are still left in the loop, and you rightly said that here. Doing English online has its own teaching problems. And our teachers today, they are still, who are at university, they are still going through the teaching problems because they hadn't the face-to-face with the lecturers at CPC. So at the university, they are still battling. There is a void. So I would like to know if you would be, you could share your numbers so that they can contact you for assistance they need. And this pandemic would have caused the gap to be wider, the educational gap amongst our teachers to be wider. And you are the seniors, although you are not au fait, but you're trying to fill the tech gap. You have the resources, you're knowledgeable, and we need you. So what do you think? Mr. Chichester, would you share your numbers so that because there are lots of teachers here who are listening and who will be listening and who will like to have some assistance? Miss Adams, Mr. Chichester.
It looked like we lost Mr. Chichester.
Oh, okay.
No, you haven't lost me. I was typing my number in the chat.
Or
My number is in the
typing
chat.
Or the number is
my
in the
number is
chat? Okay,
in the
thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you. So for me, thanks. Now, I know we're coming to the end of today's session, but there is something I know next week's session, and Mr. Chichester spoke about drama, the importance of drama, and the lack of the expressions. It is difficult for you to see it, and I don't know the way of this remark, but next week there will be 3 educators who will be zeroing on grammar, foreign language, and also some languages. But they're gonna show us or showcase how they would have turned this entire pandemic and showcase how the pandemic wasn't able to steal their joy, but they became creative. As Mr. Chester spoke about paradigm shift, they prepared to go through the shift. And the question I want to ask everyone, are you a change agent? Are you willing to make the drastic changes? Because when this is over, we must have a change of mind. We must have a different perspective towards information, towards the use of information. There are lots of misinformation out there. And yes, sir, you're right. This generation is much better off than our generation and the generation before, because we had to utilize the library. And as Miss Adams said, it's the click of the finger and you're able to get it. But it's not clicking of the finger to get it. They don't know how to really access the kind of information that they need. So as an educational technologist lecturer, as a person who is not versed, but I do have what it takes to work technology, I would always be a resource person in our society in Guyana and around the world. Whoever needs my help, I would be there to ensure that you are not left behind. Each one teach one. And because each one teach one, we are going to build on on the different layers that's going to take you to the top. I am a science educator also, and I understand where Mr. Chester is coming from. Mr. Chester, is that to do certain science activities and without the technological skills, there is no way our students will get it. So if we work together as a team and we try to reach out and we try to help, we know that the inequalities, the inequalities gaps we'll try to close it. We can't close it, but we will try to do something. So this forum here is where we're getting information from our retired, rehired, resource educators in our society to make life better for the society, for others to come. I really thank you for your time today, the time to share your years of teaching, your years of experiences, and let our teachers and students know it's not where you came from, but where you are going. It's not if you pass or you fail, but it's the desire and the momentum and the force, the will. You must have the drive to take you to the next level. Pandemic is here, technology is here, and because technology is here today, I would have used a different medium to broadcast our session. So let us open our hearts, let us open our minds, and know that technology will make our life either better or worse. It depends on where you are on the pendulum. We're going to continue to keep our eyes fixed on time, but know that time slips away and leaves us standing. So for today, I must say that my pendulum will continue to swing because I need to move one notch higher. Thank you, my panelists. Thank you, my audience. Thank you for listening. Thank you for opening up your doors to have me and Mr. Chichester, Mr. Chichester, Miss Adams. Miss Nurse is not here. And next week, we are going to start at 3 o'clock because it is Father's Day and we cannot allow the session to go down. So come prepared, bring a friend, tell them, and the word, and let the word spread. And know that this function, this forum is a resource. You're gonna get resources off of this forum. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bye. Thank you.